Bounced around a couple of times.
This was supposed to be a fishing weekend. It didn't turn out that way. The week started with my mom coming to Fairbanks for a visit. The day my mom's flight came in, I got to the airport right on time, and there was this huge crowd of people coming out of the airport. It was completely empty inside, not a single bag on the carousel.
I don't know where my mother is.
Fairbanks Airport is small enough that only one flight lands at a time, so I figured this has to be her flight. Turns out that was a totally different flight from Anchorage. My mom's flight hadn't even landed yet. She showed up right on time. I was just the confused one. This was actually supposed to be a pretty low-key weekend. My mom's been visiting, and earlier that week we spent an entire afternoon grinding our own wheat to make bread completely from scratch. It was a lot of work, but so worth it. I also instantly ordered an electric grain mill so that I would never have to grind wheat by hand again. By the time the weekend came around, we just wanted a break. We packed up and headed to Valdez, planning to fish. Then it started raining, and it just didn't stop. So this is what the weekend actually looked like instead.
We stopped for lunch. It's been a long drive, but what a beautiful lunch spot. Well, this is how we do it. We don't have picnic tables. We just eat out of the back of the car.
You can't drive to Valdez without stopping at the beautiful waterfalls. They're just magnificent.
Mom, what do you think of the waterfall?
This is what I'm going to turn on at night when I can't sleep.
We finally made it to Valdez after a very long day of driving and just drove around a little bit and took in some sights. And Kurt scoped out some potential fishing spots. Of course, I packed an espresso maker for my coffee.
So we're headed out on a trail called the Dock Point Trail. It's raining, but we're going to give it a shot and hopefully we won't get too rained on.
The trail was really beautiful, and it did rain the whole time, but I think that just added to the beauty of it all. Kurt later decided to take a different trail back to the car, and he had a bit of a fall. Not the last time this would happen this weekend. We also ducked into this local museum to dry off, and it turns out this bar used to be a real one right here in town. That night we went out for dinner at a place called the Fat Mermaid. We stood outside in the rain waiting for a table, and then once we got inside, it was so loud we could barely hear each other talk. So that was dinner. The next day, Kurt went fishing while my mom and I stayed in. He did make it out fishing until he fell again. This time, he came back with a nasty gash on his shin instead of a salmon.
Got a couple of steps in and lost my balance. Bounced around a couple of times. I hit the back of my head. Anyway, landed on my back with my head in the water.
At this point, I started to wonder if we'd gotten anything out of this weekend at all. None of us said very much at the lake. We just stood there for a while. And honestly, that answered my question. We definitely got something out of the weekend. With coffee in hand, we headed home on Sunday and stopped for another waterfall along the way. We didn't get the fishing trip we planned, and it wasn't the weather we would have liked, but driving home, I kept thinking about those icebergs at the Glacier Lake, and I think maybe that's the one I'll remember.